Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Unscrambled Faith. I'm your host, Megan Clark, and I hope so far that you're having an incredible start to your day, your week, depending upon what time of year, what day you're watching this video. Regardless, I just hope that you are having an incredible start to your day or week, regardless. And if not, I am sending good vibes and praying for you that it's going to have a turnaround. You know what, I'm pretty ready for this week's podcast. Just to give you a little bit of insight before we dive in about what's going on with me and then the last couple of days this last week. So, husband is out of town right now. He's been out of town. He's taking a little sabbatical with his friends and with his dad. They're having a great time. It's an annual trip that they do every year. To tell you the truth, it's actually been pretty nice. Don't tell him I told you that, but I actually enjoyed the mental break. I definitely miss him, and it's one of those cliche sayings that they do say that we've all heard before, right? Where absence makes the heart grow fonder. To be honest with you, full transparency, that phrase used to make me cringe when I was younger, but as an adult, let alone a 36-year-old adult, it's true. It's true. If you've heard it, if you're younger and you're watching this, it's very true. And I tell you what, the last couple days has actually been a little bit of a mental vacation. What I mean by that, before we jump ahead, what I mean by that is that I wear different hats. I'm a business owner. I do a podcast. I'm a friend. I'm a wife. We've got fur babies, right? So I'm a fur parent. I don't know what we're saying these days, but I'm a fur parent. But here's the thing, my husband Derek works shift work, and whenever he does work, it's typically about 12-ish, I believe, 14-hour shifts, something like that, 12 hours so that he works, right? Give or take, something like that. However, when he comes home, I'm switching gears. So I'm going from business owner to wife mode, right? So that's going to look a little bit different depending upon the night, depending upon the day, depending upon his work, his shift that he has with his work schedule, right? So I basically have to pivot and shift because I do work from home, and yes, I do have a little bit more a little bit more bigger opportunity, right, to be able to mold my schedule kind of like around his and then to make it work. However, I feel like that a lot of times I love doing this. I love being in my element. I love being able to have a little bit more flexibility in my time to just not have to feel like I have to be on all the time, right? Now, granted, don't get me twisted, don't get me wrong. My husband and I were very transparent with our emotions, with my emotions, like my day, his day, what's going on with us. For the most part, we're pretty good about checking in with one another, holding each other accountable, being of sound mind, able-bodied, body doubling for each other, right? Especially for this spicy brain person here that you're listening to right now. But here's the thing, like me having the last couple of days to myself has given me a mental break because I love doing like what's referred to as girl dinner. So what does that look like for me? That means that me cooking, like I cooked a meal 2 days ago, right? And then I've been eating leftovers, lunch or dinner. It means not having to think about what are we going to do differently tonight, or again, right, what I was saying earlier is like switching gears for me during the daytime being a business owner, and then like to Tuesdays, right? So today's Tuesday, this is when I'm recording my podcast and I upload it to my YouTube channel, and I've got therapy, and so typically, like, I don't know what the day's going to bring me, right? So then I go about my day, I do my thing, I come home, and then whether he's here or he's coming home later on or he's off work, whatever that looks like, mentally I have to pivot and switch gears versus honestly the last couple days has been like smooth sailing. I haven't had to do a lot of that extra like brain work, right? My brain hasn't really had to work in overdrive. I've really been digging in deep to like my creative side, which has been incredible, and I have been having a lot of fun with it. And the thing is that I don't think that I really want him to be gone any longer. The last couple of days was perfect. So I love that him and I take opportunities, whether it's once or twice or so through the year, to get away for ourselves with our friends or like with our family, reboot for ourselves, have some time to ourselves, and then regroup and then come back. Sorry, y'all, give me a second. I'm actually going to take my ring light off. I have this like little cheapy ring light. I swear I need to invest in something that's going to be a little bit more sturdier than this. It served its purpose for the last 2 years, but I had a feeling that light was about to die. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go and turn that off, and we're just going to get back to what we were talking about. So so that's how my week's been going. We recently, right before he went out of town, he actually went outside, did the lawn, mowed the lawn, did the whole thing, cleaned our shrubs up, all that stuff. And then I had asked him, I was like, hey, can you work in the flower bed? Can you, remulch it, get it prepped and ready? I said, you do that, and then I'm going to bring my creative side in, and then I'm going to bring out the flowers and the decor, and then we're going to do our thing. A little secret that we have is that I do not have a green thumb. I'm just going to tell you first and foremost, I do not have a green thumb. And what I mean by that is I was inspired about 2 years ago, I believe, to plant our flower garden in our front yard with fake flowers. Yes, you heard that right. For fake flowers. In fact, if you're watching this, more likely you're already on YouTube. So watch this video. Highly encourage you to finish this out, please. Finish this video out. But when you're done, stay on YouTube. And then I want you to search for, what did I search for? I think it was like fake garden or front yard garden, fake plant, something like that. But they're all from Amazon. And if you have somebody that's like a good landscaper, or like myself, I have a great imagination. I like to plan things out. I got some ideas from that video. I think there's like a couple of videos, honestly, that's on YouTube at this point that has like the fake flowers from Amazon. But I tell you what, it's incredible with the amount of variety that you can get from something online like that for a fairly good price, fairly good. And to know that they're not going to die, that they're going to last forever. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I have 1 or 2 more things this week that I'm going to do to our flower bed, and then we're pretty much going to be done for the spring, summer season. So I'm very excited about that. So that's kind of what's been happening through my week. Again, today's Tuesday for me, recording my podcast, Therapy Tuesday as well. Had a successful therapy session. You can already tell I'm actually have a little pep in my step. But I had a good therapy session. Basically talked about everything I just shared with y'all now. And to be honest, the last couple of days, last week or two, I've been doing a lot of reflecting back on the progress that I've made personally in my life the last couple of years, the strides I've made through therapy. Been sharing a lot with my friends. I'm a huge advocate for therapy, by the way. I've mentioned that several times in these podcasts. But talk to them about therapy, my therapy sessions, my experiences, where I'm at right now in my business. It's actually pretty cool because, so far this month we've been talking a lot about like planting seeds, being present in the moment, being intentional, planting those seeds so that later on, our things, our blessings and our faith, staying steady. So because that way further down the line, things will grow, right? Things are going to come from that, no matter what that looks like for us, whatever season of life we're in. And what's interesting is I found that by doing so, pretty much at the beginning of this year, so like January to about March-ish, give or take, about January to March-ish, that I planted the seeds, so not only like in my personal life, but in my business, and I just can't help but feel like in my bones that everything is coming to life, like everything's blooming in full bloom. I can see the light. That sounded corny, but I can see the light. Like I feel better. I have more mental clarity at this point. It's actually been a little bit of a pivot, like a shift, I would say, at least the last couple of weeks, specifically mentally, where I feel good. I'm at peace. I don't really have any like doubts or reservations, and I'm actually very, very, very fortunate and lucky and blessed to be able to feel like that, because I know right now not everybody's state of mind, their frame of mind is not necessarily in that. It's not that case. So I feel like today that kind of is in a little way is going to piggyback on just that. So today's this week's topic for the podcast theme is April showers bring May flowers. I love that saying. But April showers bring May flowers. We'll talk a little bit about thinking about maybe diving a little bit more in today about finding our purpose through life storms, right? So we've heard that other cliche saying, like, when it rains, it pours. So finding purpose through life storms. What does that mean? That means that, a lot of times that God is going to throw things to us that perhaps we're not prepared for. We don't see coming. We maybe perhaps can't catch our breath, or it could be that you're having a really great season of life and something happens that just kind of knocks you off your feet, right? Turns your life upside down, turns your world upside down. You don't see it coming. Just knocks the wind out of you, right? And when there's a storm, what does that mean? That means that more likely that we don't have control over something, that there's something that's weighing us down, that we feel like that we're drowning. It could be that you're drowning in your finances. It could be that the storm is coming and it's the job that you're currently in, that you just have a lot of people on the outside that are asking so much of you that you feel overstretched, overworked, you're tired. A season of life that you could be in where life storm has hit you upside down and taking your air out, is that maybe there's something medical, right? Maybe you've got a recent diagnosis that you didn't see coming. Or, it could be that you're struggling with the relationship or lack thereof with your spouse, or distance between you and your child. Or it could be that you're having an internal struggle. There's a storm within yourself, right? That you feel something brewing, something stirring inside within your soul. Your faith is being tested. If you are one of those that are glued to the TV, glued to the media, glued to the news, there could be so much that's being thrown at you. If you're like me and you're on social media a lot, there's so much that gets thrown at us, like the good, the bad, the ugly, that we just feel, like we feel exhausted. Like there's this heaviness that's weighing heavy on our chest, on our shoulders, that we can't breathe, we can't catch a break, that we can't keep our head above water, because there's just so much that not only is being told to us, but we're being pushed and pulled in different directions. And it's like, okay, I know, Megan, that you're telling me that it's springtime and that things should be going great and that things are blooming and I should have planted the seeds. And if I didn't plant the seeds, then what now? Because, you could be perhaps in a season of life where you're feeling a little stuck, that you're not really sure if things are going to get better, that you can't see the light at the end, that what if things don't change? That's perfectly fine, friend. If you find yourself that you're in a season of life right now, if you're at a place where you feel numb, that you're not really necessarily sure what's next in your life, that's okay. That's okay, because it's ultimately, at the end of the day, the most important thing that we can do for ourselves is to keep the faith. To know that things are going to turn around. The timing is going to be different for everybody. It's not going to be the same for anyone. What God ultimately asks for us is for us to trust Him. Trust Him in the waiting. Trust the process. Even when we find that it's maybe perhaps the hardest thing that we've ultimately had to go through. So when we talk about April showers bring May flowers, it could be that we're talking about that this month, that we're in a challenge, that we're put in the middle of a challenge. Maybe perhaps you're experiencing a setback. I know, for example, for myself, I was doing a little bit of reflecting with my friend earlier today. And again, we were talking about how I can't believe that I believe close to like I feel like I'm going to get this wrong, but about 4 years or so, give or take, I've been in therapy, right? Which is it's just mind-blowing to me. Not in a bad way, but in a good way, because that tells me, for one, time goes by fast, right? We all know that time flies by. But really puts it in perspective, retrospect for me, when I think about how I felt and the burdens and the heaviness that I felt walking into my very first therapy session as compared to how today went. Now, granted, I don't always have great therapy sessions. I don't always walk into my therapy session feeling great about myself, or that I have good things and positive things to talk about. Some weeks are not so good. But here's the thing, is that I'm not focusing on, wow, well, I had a really great therapy session today, but what if next week's not so good? I don't want you to think like that, and I'm not thinking like that. Just like I talked about in last week's podcast, it's important for us to be present and focused in the now. Don't get so caught up in what's in the rearview mirror. Don't get so caught up on what's to come. There's nothing necessarily wrong with planning ahead, but we don't want to prep for the worst. Because what happens, right? We lose focus of what's happening right in front of our faces. We miss making memories. We making connections with those around us. Those small moments that add up to really big things. That give us not only a sense of purpose, but encouragement for us to feel that there's light at the end, right? That things are going to get better. We need to focus on the little glimmers in our day. And if you're struggling with that, one of the things that I talked about with another friend of mine today was the sheer fact that we can plant seeds along the way for things to grow later on. And one of the things that we can do by planting seeds is spreading kindness to others. Especially if you're like myself, I've had many times in the past where I've struggled with not only my self-worth, but I've struggled with my confidence. I've struggled with knowing where my place is in this world. What am I going to do with my life? I've almost had like a crisis of, okay, I went to school, or I have this degree, or I've got this training, but what next? What am I supposed to do with myself? Or maybe you find yourself in a place of being an empty nester, or you've moved to a new area and you just don't know anybody, and you're just kind of in that limbo situation. And one of the things that she and I agreed on was the fact that it's important for us to spread kindness. And a lot of times when we spread kindness to others, we're repairing a hurt that's within ourselves. If you don't know where to start when it comes to that hurt that you're feeling within your gut, within your soul, in your heart, if your heart's breaking, if you're holding on to past hurt, current hurt, whatever the case may be, and you just don't know where to start, or maybe you don't have the energy or the words to do so, my friend, if you're spreading kindness to others, you are repairing that hurt within yourself, which is so incredible to me, because by doing so, we're being the hands and feet of Jesus. And what does spreading kindness look like? It looks like so many things. It could mean sending a text of encouragement tomorrow to somebody that's going through a tough time. It could mean that you're paying it forward and paying for somebody's coffee, paying for a friend's coffee tomorrow. It could be possibly mean that when you're going out to lunch with somebody, that you pick up their lunch tab, or that you pay somebody a compliment, right? You see something that somebody's wearing, or maybe they're like the way they style their hair, their outfit. It could be a kid, it could be adult, doesn't matter who it is, but give them that compliment. We don't know what other people are going through, right? Just like maybe perhaps people that are in your community, your neighbors, your co-workers, your own friends and family may not necessarily know what you're going through. And you don't have to tell them what you're going through, but they don't know, right? And what's incredible is that you can turn around and give them a compliment. You can give them a piece of encouragement. And the coolest part about that, and what I absolutely love, is that it's going to give you that dopamine inside. It's going to repair that rip that's within your heart, that tear, that past hurt that you've been hanging on to, that baggage that you're carrying that's weighing heavy on your shoulders. Little by little, piece by piece, like a puzzle, the more you pay it forward, the more kindness that you give to others, it's going to make amends within your heart. It's going to do a good work for your soul. And God, let's be honest, God loves that. God loves that stuff. He couldn't be more prouder, right, for us to see us doing those, to give kindness to others, especially in the moments when it's the hardest to do so. But going back to what I was talking about with the therapy sessions that I've been through and the strides that I've made, when it comes to exploring challenges and setbacks, so I've been a small business owner for 6 months this October. And one of the things that has been pretty mind-blowing for me, still doesn't really feel real that I went through all this, was I remember I was telling my friend that whenever I started, it's not only a small business owner, and I took a leap of faith with that, but the fact that the first week walking into my very first therapy session with, my now therapist, all the stuff that I was carrying with me into that therapy session. So here I did have a brand new business. On top of it, at the time, I was still working full time, outside of the home. My husband at the time was struggling with alcohol addiction. We were struggling with infertility. We were struggling with communication, with not only in our own marriage, but also with the fact that we were struggling with infertility. We were basically living two separate lives. We were on the brink of divorce. We hadn't even been married for that long at that point, and our lives were just pretty miserable. I was feeling miserable. He was miserable. We were just kind of going with the flow. On top of that, I was struggling a lot with my self-confidence, and I had no idea at the time that I was carrying into my marriage not only a lot of toxicity from my own upbringing, my own family, but also the fact that there was past trauma, past hurts, um, from past relationships, from past friendships that I had not yet fully processed. I thought I did, but I had not yet fully processed. So here I was bringing all of this into that one therapy session. Now, funny enough, when I went into my therapy appointment the very first day, my intentions were, oddly enough, to get a feel with this therapist to see if it would be the right fit for my husband and I to actually later on down the line have couples counseling. Little did I know that I actually needed the therapist more than we needed the therapist. That's just another story for another day. But my point to all this is that over the course of such a small amount of time, hence like a 4 or 5 year span, because I believe my husband and I, let's see, do the math. We've been married 7 years this November. And out of the 7 years, 5 of those were not so great. We've made strides. We've made progress. We're still a work in progress. But man, when I tell you the 9-day difference between when him and I got married almost 7 years ago and who we are now, I mean, I thought that there was a difference between him and I when we knew each other back. See, so I'm 36 now, so we knew each other about half that time ago. So 18 years ago, we knew each other. And when I think about when we dated when we were like 18, 19, and how different of versions that we were of ourselves at that time, and then later on down the road when we got back together and started dating again, I believe about I think it was like 2016ish or so, before we got engaged and married. Like those different seasons of our lives, it's insane to me. It puts it into a larger perspective of the stride and the work that's been done to both of us, that we've put in, that God has blessed in our lives. But when I think back on, again, all of the challenges and the setbacks, if you were to tell me in the midst of any of those, although they were all just like all pretty much almost at the same time, but if you were to tell me in the midst of that I would be the version of myself that I am today, I would have called you a liar. I would have laughed at your face. I'd have been like, why are you telling me these lies? Like, why are you giving me false hope? The thing is that I firmly feel like, and I stand on 10 toes. I stand strong with saying in my faith that God is not going to put us, he's not going to put you, he's not going to put me through anything that we are not capable of coming at on the other side. Now, I will tell you that there are things that are much larger and grander than you and I could ever imagine. Tough situations, hardships, loss, devastating loss, news that we get that is unexpected, that we don't see coming, that is not even in our control. And I know that that's the part that a lot of us have a hard time and struggle with wrapping our minds around, is that if there is a God, how does he allow these things to happen? Friends, my opinion, I don't feel like that he allows these things to happen. I feel like that, I mean, how could we possibly be a better version of ourselves? How could we strive to be as close as we can get to being like-minded, like Jesus? Because we can't be Jesus, right? There's one and only. However, God wants us to strive to be as close to that as possible. When I tell you that if I had a choice between going through the difficult hardships that I've been through and not, I would choose it every time. And I know that if you're listening to this, some might be saying, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Some might actually even pause this video and not hear me out, not listen to the rest of this. However, there's going to be those of you that are listening to this, that are watching this podcast episode, and know that you've come out on the other side of things. I know that through the hardships that I've been through, I'm a more patient person. I love harder. I show up for others. I stand in the gap for those that may not have the mental capacity or the strength or the energy to do it for themselves. I know that my life has more deeper, more meaning, more purpose driven life because of the perspective that I've had and the hardships that I've went through. It's tested my mind, it's tested my faith, it's tested my marriage. There have been times in the last 5 years that I just didn't want to be here anymore. And I mean physically not be here anymore. And the thing is that it's not only helped me become more of a humble person, and I'm able to have more patience. I'm able to be more present. We talked about that again last week, right? Being more present in the moment. I'm able to be present with those that either are complete strangers to me or people that I've known my whole life. I tell you that there is more reward when you can come out from the other side of things. And yes, you are going to be a different person when you do so. But I can only hope that you're going to be a better version of yourself. The only way that we can do that is to keep it in mind, in the forefront of our minds, that April showers bring May flowers. Just because it's raining and you can't catch your breath and you have your head above water and you feel like that you're just dog paddling it out and you're barely making ends meet and you're barely making it, rest assured, I tell you, friends, today, that your time is coming, that your flowers are set to bloom. You have been planting the seeds long enough that it's time for full bloom. Your season, your spring season is here. Enough is enough. You've been putting the work in. You've been pushing forward. You've been persevering. You've been praying to God. You've been building your relationship with God. You've been making amends with your past. You've been healing. You're looking forward to the future. You're being more present in your time. If you're planting the seeds and you're putting the work in, the result's going to come. It could be that the results are even here now and you're just so caught up and wallowing in the past and you're just so focused and because the thing is that you're self-deprecating. I've been there too because there's a lot of past hurt and hang-ups that I've held on to for so long because I felt like if I didn't let go of those things that I was no longer in control, that those things had well, at that point, if I let go, would have power over me. It's quite the opposite. Once you bless and release it and let those things go, and you start taking one step forward, one step at a time, planting those seeds. How can I better myself? How can I be a better version of myself than I was yesterday? How can I heal from those past hurts? Until you start taking the steps necessary to get into that direction, you're not going to move. You're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel like you're in limbo. You're going to feel like God is nowhere near you. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel like God can't hear you, that he doesn't see you, that he doesn't understand you. But it's because you're self-deprecating, that you're still holding on to perhaps the things that you've already worked through, that you've already processed. God sacrificed his one and only son so that Jesus could carry those heavy burdens on the cross. He's carrying your burdens, friend. God is the only thing that he's asking of you is to hand it over to him. Whether that's financial burden, whether that's somebody has done you wrong, whether you're having a hard time at work, whether your health issues, whether you're in your crisis mode with your health, whether you're just not sure if things are going to get better or you can get out of the situation that you're in. Nothing's going to change. What is it? Nothing changes until nothing changes. You absolutely have to take at least one step forward. You don't want to stay stuck. If you stay stuck, nothing's going to come from that. And then when you stay stuck, you're going to continuously watch people in your life just flash you by. Everything's going to flash by and go by so fast, and you're going to feel like people are moving on, that life is moving on, that everyone's leaving you behind, because the truth of the matter is that they are, because they're going to outgrow you in their friendship. They're going to outgrow you in the community that they're in, because nobody wants to keep holding on to somebody that is not going to want to be a better version of themselves than they were yesterday. I tell you what, the only people that I want in my circle, in my community, are going to be those that, yes, we all know together that we're going to have bad days. But you know what? We also know that we're going to have more good days than bad. And then when we do have those bad days, we're going to hold each other up. We're going to hold each other accountable in my circle of friends and my community. We're going to be a pillar for each other. We're going to stand in the gap for one another. But here's the thing is that there's some people that you have to out of your life. You have to decide who's gonna get the cut, because and that's the hard truth, you guys, is that there are gonna be people in your life, there's gonna be friends in your life, co-workers in your life, families in your life, that those people, those specific people, that you have to bless and release them because they're toxic, because they don't want the progress. They don't want to, they've either been putting the work in and they're just still so hung up and they talk about it over and over, the things that they once had went through. There's nothing wrong with reflection. I do that a lot on this podcast. There's nothing wrong with self-reflecting. But I don't want you to stay in the situation that you're in, especially because what's going to happen is that you're going to miss on the blessings. The blessings are going to pass you up that God's putting in your life, because you're blinded by the things that you've already been through. God has pulled you through that. It's behind you. It's in your rearview mirror. And it's time for you to focus forward. It's time for you to focus forward in your future and what's to come. Romans chapter 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. This week's challenge that I have for you is I want you to reflect on a past hardship and how God has used it for the good. I want you to write down a prayer of gratitude for the lessons learned, and I want you to share that story with someone who might need that encouragement. Because here's the thing, friend. We never know what somebody's going through, and your story is going to be relevant to somebody that is going through a similar situation. Your story and the word that God has placed on your heart this week, that as of now that you're watching this video, whatever came to mind, whatever came to fruition in your heart, that's what God wants you to share with somebody else. It's not up to us to decide. You don't have to know right now. You don't have to know who you're going to share this with. The most important part is to accept the challenge, and I want you to jot it down. I want you to journal it down. I want you to write it down. After you do that, it's almost like you're having this conversation with God, and you're letting God know, like, look, God, I thank you for the blessings that you put in my life. Thank you for the progress that I've made in my life. Thank you for getting me through the storm. Because I know that even though at one point or another that it was showering and it was raining heavy on me, that now we're in a season of blooming and blossom and blessings. And thank you so much for getting me through this hardship. And I guarantee you that once you put that on paper, once you had that conversation with God, then and only then he's going to put it on your heart, on your mind, who to pass that word along to. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me this week. Happy Easter. We're almost there, you guys. It's exciting week. I hope you have an incredible week. If not, it's going to turn around. And I guarantee you, hopefully you got something from this week's podcast. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It helps me out so much, you guys. Let's get the word out. Share this video as a hope of encouragement to somebody else that might need this word of encouragement this week. As always, stay faithful. Unscramble your faith and find clarity in the chaos. Thank y'all so much. I hope you have a great week. Until next time. Bye, y'all.